I'm Tina Gardner, and I am in Bedford, Pennsylvania, and I have familial pulmonary arterial hypertension. I am one of many in our family that have had it. My mother was diagnosed and had it in 1994. I was diagnosed in 2016. I have a nephew who was diagnosed when he was 17 and a niece that was diagnosed last year at the age of 21. And we have a great nephew who passed away just shy of his third birthday. So it has definitely impacted our family. We've learned a whole lot from the time my mom was diagnosed to now. All the medications that we have now were not available for her, or if they were just experimental. It's a little devastating. So as a family, we've all kind of come together, those of us that currently have it, the three of us that do. We all have different symptoms. My mom was diagnosed in about October of 1994, and we had never heard of pulmonary hypertension. And I think they referred to it back then as primary pulmonary hypertension. And she was very short of breath, just walking from the car to go inside the mall, and she would have to sit down as soon as we got in there. And we're like, Mom, what is going on? And, she's like, oh, it's just the change of the season. The weather, it's just allergies. Like, she chalked it up to that kind of stuff. And we're like, no, this was just getting worse and worse and worse. So my sister was like, Mom, you've got to go to a doctor. She went to a pulmonologist, and they were like, well, we're going to run some tests. And they sent her to a cardiologist. They did a heart catheterization, and that's when they said, oh, you have pulmonary hypertension. Well, like I said, we'd never heard of it. So they're like, well, it could be caused by diet pills. Did you ever take diet pills? She did. She had taken diet pills in the past. She was on Nutrisystem where she lost a bunch of weight. So they're thinking that could have caused her pulmonary hypertension. So July of 1995, she got her transplant. They did one lung, and she passed away in the hospital right after her 52nd birthday. In fact, it'll be 26 years that my mom has passed. Then with 2016, I would go to Planet Fitness with my daughter all the time. I had missed about a month or two of going. So I went in, and my personal trainer was in there, and he was like, hey, Tina, so glad to see you. And I'm like, hey, me too. And I said, I'm going to hit the circuit. And he said, okay. So I did the little circuit. I got to the second thing in the circuit, and I had to sit down. I couldn't breathe. It was awful. Oh my gosh. It was the worst feeling, not being able to breathe. They ended up calling an ambulance. I went to the hospital. My heart rate was just insane. My blood pressure was really low. And so they said, we need you to go see your primary care. And she actually tried to tell me I had Lyme disease. Now, at this point in 2016 was when everything kind of came to a head. The previous 4 years, I had been misdiagnosed from everything from, I was told I had lupus at one point. I was told that it was just diabetes at another point. And now I'm being told that I had Lyme disease. I started having these fainting spells. I would just pass out at random. I went to a neurologist. Everything was fine. He sent me over to this arthritis doctor who specializes in all things autoimmune. He ran a bunch of tests. He says, Tina, you do not have Lyme disease. You don't have anything. On an autoimmune basis, you are perfectly fine. There's no lupus. There's no Lyme disease. There's none of this stuff. He said, I made an appointment for you. I'm making the referral for you to go to the cardiologist. So I did. He said, Tina, we think you have a blood clot on your lung. We need you to go and have a CT scan with contrast done. I came out from that CT scan, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, I know that this is not a blood clot in my lungs. I think this is pulmonary hypertension like my mom had. And they proceeded to explain to me what it is. And I said, my mom had it. I'm familiar. That Friday, we went in for a heart cath. It was confirmed, got started on Remodulin and Lateris. And then from there, I found out that I had a nephew I really didn't know. He was diagnosed when he was 17. Well, then we found out last year on Mother's Day, my niece Isabella was diagnosed. And in between me being diagnosed and Isabella diagnosed. I had a little nephew in California. He was diagnosed but passed away just shy of his third birthday. Family has been very supportive. I did start a Facebook group where people that have the heritable pulmonary arterial hypertension can come to, as well as family members. A few of my family members are in it as well. Just so that everybody knows, it's very important for caregivers, especially, to know, these things that we're going through are normal things to happen with us. Nausea and lightheadedness and not being able to walk 5 feet sometimes, and having to be on your oxygen all the time. If you're a brand new caregiver, this stuff can be overwhelming. So just to have that support for them to be there, we kind of help that. Everybody kind of gives their little tidbits. Some of my favorite ones have been about combating the depression and the anxiety that just comes along with this illness. Just having the support system is just phenomenal. And where I lived, I'm very far away from my hospital. Pittsburgh's 2.5 hours from me, so I'm not near any kind of support group. So I have to create my own support group, and that's really important. So if you don't have a support group, even if it's just 1 or 2 people that you can have, those people that are like, hey, I haven't heard from you in 2 days. I know you're depressed. Get up off of your butt. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation, even if you're not face to face. Sometimes you just need a friend that you want to talk to and vent to, and that's just important to have. I encourage people to do that. Now we're going into the transplant phase of things. So in September, I go up to Pittsburgh for a week where we do all the testing to see if I'm even going to be able to get on the transplant list. So we have that coming up. And that is another thing that's very scary for our family, because my mom had 1 lung transplanted, but we now know that you must have 2. We know that all the medical stuff is completely different than what it was back in 1995. But when you have, a father that's 80 years old, it hits home to him very hard. So not only do I feel like I have to be a support person for them to keep their encouragement up, but I have to have it for myself. So don't feel like you always have to be the person to fix everything or to be the one that's 100% encouraging all the time, because it's very hard and it's very taxing. So that's why I say to new people in our group that are newly diagnosed, find yourself that one person that you can call, or if they don't hear from you in a couple of days, we'll call you, because the depression and anxiety with this disease is real. So find something that you like to do, whether it be a craft, crocheting, needlework, painting, gardening, going for walks, whatever it is, something that you can do sitting at home. Find a good book to read. Libraries still exist. So, find something that you really like to do and focus a little bit on that every day for at least 20 minutes. Give yourself 20 minutes of you time. It will help so much. And feel free to come to our Facebook group. Put in the search pulmonary hypertension or pulmonary arterial hypertension, heritable pulmonary arterial hypertension. You will find all kinds of Facebook groups. Join those groups. There are people in there that are just like us, that are a wealth of information. Keep in touch with your doctors. Find a specialist, somebody that actually knows about pulmonary arterial hypertension. I'm excited because, yes, I'm going for this transplant stuff, but talking with my specialist, the FDA has a medication that they're hoping is going to be approved soon, and it's specifically for those of us that have the BMPR2 gene. So that is looking very promising. So the medical stuff is just so fascinating to me, and how much it changes all the time. So when our family does have that BMPR2 gene, I'm all about reading about the gene and what it can do and all those little scientific things that are kind of geeky, but I love it. And so I'm excited, and hopefully this will come out and maybe I won't need transplant. I'm Tina Gardner, and I'm aware that I'm rare.